Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Destination Happiness. In today's episode, I'm going to be sharing with you my backpacking route for Central and South America. I'm going to give you advice on what to do, what not to do, based on my own personal experiences, so you can learn from my own backpacking trip. Tell you about my trip. It was a bit strange. I wouldn't recommend it, but I mean, it worked. It's just probably the only person to take the route that I did because it was so odd. I flew from Australia, from Melbourne to El Salvador through Hawaii, and then I was in El Salvador for 10 days, stayed with my friend. Then I flew to Costa Rica, went to Manuel Antonio, then worked my way up to the Caribbean side and stayed in Puerto Viejo, which was gorgeous, by the way. And then from there, I crossed the land border to Panama, went to Bocas del Toro, the group of islands. Then I went to Panama City, literally just for a day. So I got picked up from Panama City, and then I had a boat trip from Panama going through Gunayala Islands. I've got another video about that on my YouTube channel, which you can see. So a 3-day boat trip from Panama to Colombia through the Gunayala Islands. When we got there, got to a place called Capraguana in Colombia, which is like in the north. That's where the boat took us in. Was there for just a couple of days. I don't recommend staying there for too long. From there, got a bus to Cartagena in Colombia, which I do recommend. What I did from there, from Cartagena, I went to Medellin, and then in Medellin for like a good, I think like a week, which is a good amount of time to spend in Medellin. And then from Medellin, went to Salento, that was it, which was a gorgeous place in the mountains. There's coffee there, there is the tallest palm trees in the world, pretty cool spot. From Salento, went to Cali, which is the salsa capital of the world, where they say. From Cali, got the bus to Bogota, and then from Bogota flew to Lima in Peru. So that's when we started a Peru itinerary. In Peru, so we went to Lima first. Surfing was good, it was a good city. Then went to Huacachina, which is a place in the desert. You have to go there. You can't go to Peru and not go to Huacachina. And then from there, went to Arequipa, which is where Colca Canyon is, the deepest canyon in the world, I think. I need to fact check that. From Arequipa, went to Cusco, like high in the mountains. That's where you need to start getting used to the altitude, basically. Cusco is like, you have to go there if you go to Peru. You probably already know about it if you're planning a trip to Peru anyway, but there is Machu Picchu. Well, it's not in Cusco, but that's where you kind of go from. Then from Cusco, we got the bus to a place called Puno, so that's like just on the border between Peru and Bolivia. That's where Lake Titicaca is, and that is the highest navigable lake in the world. And then yes, so we crossed the lake. That's when we started our Bolivia trip. So we started in La Paz. We got the bus from Puno to La Paz. La Paz was great. It's probably my favorite city in all of South America. I really loved it there. Then from La Paz, I went to Runabeck. So that's in the north of Bolivia. That's where you can go to Amazon, also Pampas. So it's kind of like the outskirts of the Amazon rainforest, which I feel like it's a must. I mean, unless you want to go from Brazil or somewhere, but Bolivia is known to be the cheapest place to get to Amazon from. From Runabeck, we went back to La Paz, collected our bag. We went to Sucre, another city. I think actually that's the capital of Bolivia. To be honest, we didn't really do much in Sucre. We kind of just watched like the Euros, the football was on, and we were like, yeah, doing that, hanging out with friends that we made in La Paz. Then on our way from Sucre, uni tour to the salt mines and going through to the Atacama Desert in Chile. So before we went to uni, on the way we stopped off in a place called Potosi, not to get confused with Juana Potosi. Potosi is also a mining town. We went on a Sunday and we didn't realise that's when the miners don't work, but it meant that when we went down into the mines, no one was there. It's kind of creepy actually. But yeah, we were just in Potosi for a day, and then when we went to uni, that's when we did the salt flats tour, and we had so much fun. I did not expect uni to be so cold. I knew it was cold because I'd been told in advance, but nothing prepared me. I didn't want to get out of the taxi to go to the ATM because I was just like freezing, shivering, like even with jumpers and a jacket on and like multiple layers. Like, oh gosh, it's horrible thinking about, but kind of funny. Yeah, we did 3 days, crossed over the border to Atacama in Chile, spent a few days in the desert there, enjoyed that, went on a bike ride to a place called Devil's Throat, which was good. We went stargazing. From there, we got a 23-hour bus to Santiago, the capital of Chile. And yeah, all together that took 3 months. It was pretty quick traveling, to be fair. Like, I definitely could have slowed down a bit more, but I didn't really plan this trip at all, as you can probably tell from my sporadic itinerary. And that's why I decided to make this video, because I didn't want you guys to go through the same weirdness. I mean, I embrace the weirdness, of course, but maybe your trip could be a bit better, a bit more planned out. That was my trip, and now I'm going to run through the things that I would do next time, or I should have done, and I recommend for you to do because you probably enjoy yourself more. First things first, I started in El Salvador. It was great because that's where my trip kind of stems from, but if you're planning to do Central and South, maybe it's a good idea to start in Mexico. Can't really give any advice for Mexico because I haven't been there yet, but I'm sure there's lots of advice that you can get from other travel bloggers online. So speaking with other travelers, what I kind of got the gist of was that people start in Mexico and then work their way down Central America. So going to Guatemala, then Honduras, then El Salvador, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and then Panama. I literally just did El Salvador, Costa Rica, and Panama. Side note, El Salvador used to be like notoriously known for being dangerous. However, that's not the case anymore, seeing as the new prime minister, president. But now, like, I didn't have any trouble walking around. Like, I wasn't getting catcalled, I didn't feel unsafe, I didn't have like men staring at me and things like that, because it's kind of just like they're terrified to get put into prison if they do all these things. So it's a lot safer now. Also, I heard that Guatemala is a good place to go to Spanish school. Now, I never went to Spanish school. Unfortunately, I didn't plan enough. So if I was to go back, then I would go to Spanish school. I heard, yeah, Guatemala is a good place to do it. I did pick up a lot of Spanish while I was there. Like, I did Duolingo a few years ago and, you know, like got a streak, and then my owl like died or whatever, something happened. So I kind of stopped practicing on Duolingo. However, I think because compared to like Southeast Asia, when you're backpacking, you know, all the countries speak different languages, but when you're in a country or countries that speak Spanish for such a long period of time, it's just only natural to pick up the language. But yeah, like, I would recommend going to a Spanish school before you kind of start your main trip, or like during the beginning, because then you'll probably find it a lot easier, and maybe it will just, you know, speeding up your learning. Yeah, like I said, I did a boat trip from Panama to Colombia. There were 20 people on our trip. All 20 people got food poisoning, but I mean, it's up to you. I feel like even though that happened, like, it was still a memorable experience, and, you know, 3 days island hopping on a boat between Central and South America, like different continents, like, it's still good fun. So yeah, despite having food poisoning, I would probably still recommend doing that boat trip. The alternative option would be to catch a flight, because there's the Darien Gap there and you cannot cross by land, it's too dangerous. Anyway, so like I said, I went to Capricorn, that's where the boat landed, then Cartagena. Now, in the north of Colombia, I went to Cartagena. I missed out on a place called Santa Marta, and also another place called Minca, which is like I think like a bit of a hippie town, I've heard. And up there is the Lost City trail that you can do. It sounds really good. I never got the chance to go. That's just the way it worked out. But if I was to go back, then I probably would spend more time in the Caribbean side, like the north of Colombia, and less time in the cities like Cali or Medellin. That's just my personal preference, but I guess it's up to you what you prefer. Like, do you prefer Caribbean coast beach, or do you prefer city? For me, I think it really depends what I want to do, but yeah, maybe the cities, maybe I should have spent less time there. When you're at the north of South America, I think the typical route is to travel down the west coast, so from Colombia to Peru to to Bolivia, Ecuador if you're feeling like it, down to Chile, and then like Patagonia way. I finished my travels in Chile, but there's definitely more to do, and then you could start going to like Argentina, and then maybe like make your way up to Brazil. Brazil will be great, but also like you've just spent the past like however many months speaking Spanish, so you're gonna get there and everyone's gonna be speaking Portuguese. It's not that that's like a bad thing, it's just for me, I'm gonna be like, oh, starting all over again, not knowing how to speak the language, you know. Cartagena was a very like historic town, very famous for like Spanish influence, more like colonialism. Spain colonized Colombia in the 1500s, and it kind of all started with Cartagena. So if you go there, you can learn all about the history. I recommend doing the free walking tours. They're free, but like you give a tip at the end. You know, the tour guides are really good. They work hard to earn a living. And in Medellin, there is RV Park, which is a cool spot. There's cocoa farm tours. I didn't do that in Medellin though. I waited till I got to Salento to do the cocoa farm tours. Comuna 13 is like a district in Medellin where there was like lots of crime that went on, lots of gangs. But now the kids of today, they kind of, you know, grow up and look for a paintbrush because there's lots of graffiti and art, and that's kind of how they've turned things around in terms of all the crime and gangs. They've kind of like pushed the people of Comuna 13 and the wider area into appreciating art and being artists and graffiti and, you know, stuff like that. Also, side note, day trip to Guatapi. I do have another YouTube video which I can share with you on Guatapi. I think that one went out last week, which you could appreciate. In Salento, that's when I went to Cold Canyon, like I mentioned. The coffee access is there. Or I was going to book a coffee tour online. I can't remember what it was called. I think it was like, it had red branding. When I was in the hostel, they recommended a local coffee tour, so I ended up booking it with them. The name of that was Buenos Aires, and that one was really like small, intricate. Like I could tell that it's not really like a commercial tourist coffee farm. I recommend that one, Buenos Aires. Also did a day trip to Santa Rosa de Cabal hot springs, which was fun. The only thing is like you kind of have to make your own way there, and it involves like getting a bus and then like jumping in a jeep taxi kind of thing. It's not like a set up thing, it's just like, yeah, it was a bit confusing, but luckily I met a girl at the hostel who spoke Spanish, so she kind of got us there safely. Otherwise I probably wouldn't have been able to get there by myself because it's all very local. Then the last stop was Cali. There is a street and lots of people will go there to salsa. Watch your bags, be careful, don't have too much to drink. Yeah, I mean, like, it's fun. I personally didn't enjoy Cali that much though, just because someone did try to mug me and I just didn't really feel that safe, to be honest, and that's just the honest truth. That's just Colombia for you. I mean, it's like that in all parts of the world. Like, things could happen no matter where you are. So my word of warning to you is just be vigilant, be careful. I didn't get mugged, someone saved me, but it was almost. I did a walking tour in Cali and my tour guide said something about Gringo Tuesdays. I never actually went because I was on like a different day, but apparently it's like a meet-up language exchange where you can go and like make friends, and it sounds good. I never went though, but yeah, Gringo Tuesday. Like I mentioned, I flew to Peru from Bogota. I never actually left the hostel in Bogota because of what happened in Medellin and Cali, and it was just like I was only there for a day, so I was doing lots of admin. I loved Peru so much. When I got to Lima, I just kind of like had such a good vibe, you know. The food was good. Coffee was, actually I didn't have coffee, I had a hot chocolate and it was awful. Don't get the hot chocolate in Lima because it's like 100% cocoa. Lima, I surfed there, I surfed at the beach, and honestly it was freezing cold, but do you know what, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and if I had enough time I would go back and surf there again. My hands and my feet were numb. I had a wetsuit on, but obviously like my hands and feet were exposed, but still really recommend. You would love it. It was in Huacachina that I just realised like Peru is just so diverse. One minute I'm surfing in Peru, next minute I'm like going on sand dunes and sandboarding, and yeah, it was cool. Booked a couple of nights there, or a couple of days. I walked up the sand dune, got to the top in time for sunset, and that was completely free. I think you need to pay to go into the sand dunes actually, but I just snuck around the back of the hostel, sorry. But that's me being honest. Money saving tips with Soph. I just snuck around the back of the hostel, got to the top, and then when I was up there, it was just like so beautiful seeing the sunset like on the desert. and it reminded me of, if you've ever read the book The Alchemist, where the character is like crossing the desert. It kind of just like put me in that book. It was cool, amazing sunsets, and I made a new friend up there. The next stop after Huacachina was Arequipa. We wanted to go to Colca Canyon, and so we spoke to like a man on the street in one of the squares to book a 2-day tour, or like hike through Colca Canyon. You can actually do it yourself. I did like meet some people who did it themselves, but honestly, like, I think it's just as good getting a guide, because it's nice to know like some information about what you're looking at, or like where you are, and also you don't then need to like worry. We were a bit slow, not gonna lie, and we actually just about made it to our camp as the sun was setting. That's not normal, but not to worry, because we had our guide with us. However, if you were like there in the canyon alone, there's jaguars that live in the mountains, so maybe it's not the best idea to do that by yourself, but do what you want. I'm just giving you advice, my personal advice. Another note about Colca Canyon, so you can do it in 2 days or you can do it in 3. Now, in my mind, I thought the 2-day trip would be easier because it's 2 days, but no. You cram the same amount of things, like the same amount of hiking as the 3-day trip in 2 days, so all it really means is you're rushing and you're expected to do it in like a quicker amount of time. So if you're like me and you're not really an experienced hiker, you didn't bring your hiking boots, you had to rent them, blah blah blah, do the 3-day hike. We were hiking with a couple who were a PE teacher and a fireman, so very fit people. If you're like that, then maybe 2 days will be fine. If you don't care about falling over little rocks and not arriving till sunset, then maybe 2 days will be fine, but it's completely up to you. Depends how much time you've got. We did it in 2 days. It was a bit of a rush, but we still did it, so it's up to you. I loved Cusco, my gosh, but it really did screw me over the first few days. So I knew I had to acclimatise, but I didn't quite realise exactly what the effects were going to be. Now, you can expect being dizzy, you can expect waking up in the middle of the night gasping for air because you can't breathe. You can experience like waking up in the morning, like literally just sitting up out of bed, and then your heart is racing, feeling dizzy, nausea, you know, all the works, I feel sick. Temperature, you might get a temperature, but there are things that you can do to mitigate these symptoms. Number 1, cocoa sweets. Now these are little green sweets, they're kind of cute, they're made out of cocoa leaves. You just take them, you know, as you would like a Haribo, but they have these magical effects that make you feel better. They're not illegal, in fact they're very good. You just aren't allowed to take them out of the country. Number 2 is cocoa leaves. So this is what the cocoa sweets are made from, but you can just get the leaves and drink them as a tea. Or tip number 3 is just go with it. Go with feeling a little bit not good and walk around. It will help you. I made the mistake of thinking, right, I'm not feeling well, I'm going to stay in bed. But apparently that's the worst thing you can do, and you won't get better. So what you should do is go and have a little wander, go and have a little like look around Cusco, and yeah, just get used to it. You're gonna walk uphill, you're gonna get out of breath after 10 seconds, but you just have to go with it. And then after a few months of being at high altitude, when you finally come back to like a normal 0-meter altitude, you're gonna feel like a superhero. You're gonna be like, wow, I can walk 10 minutes and not be out of breath. So it's all about like your mindset and getting used to it. Cusco is known for Rainbow Mountain, but I also heard that there's another mountain called Palcoyo, which is not as touristy. When we were there, I probably saw like 5 other people. 2, it's easier to hike, so it's up to you if you want to go the path less travelled, or if you want to go to Rainbow Mountain and see, you know, that classic mountain view, or maybe if you've got time you can do both. It's your choice at the end of the day. I will warn you though, like you can have a look at my Instagram for reference of what the true colours are, but there are a lot of people out there, unfortunately, who edit their pictures just to give the like Rainbow Mountain more of a vibrant colour, more of a vibrant feel. So just have realistic expectations when you go there. Not that I'm saying it's not good, I just think it's unfortunate that some like people make it out to be more spectacular than it is, which means that when you get there, maybe it's a bit of a disappointment, which I don't want you to feel. So just, yeah, don't expect anything actually, just expect there to be nothing, and then when you get there, it's gonna be like, wow, it's colourful. There's a place as well in Cusco called Humante Lake. However, When I did my Machu Picchu Salcantay trek, we passed through Humantay Lake anyway, so you can visit it twice if you fancy, or you can just wait. Originally I booked the 5-day Salcantay trip with Machu Picchu reservations, but because of my altitude sickness I had to change that to the 4-day trip, which actually I think was a good idea because it meant that I didn't have a massive 25k hike within one day. I just went ziplining instead, which I love. But yeah, if you don't fancy doing the Salcantay trek, maybe you don't have time, then I would still go to Humantay Lake anyway. It's definitely a really cool thing to see. Just like being in the mountains as well, like it's cool, it's like, it feels good. There's lots of llamas to be seen as well, like all around Peru. You'll probably see the aunties, you know, like knitting. They'll be making gloves because it's freezing cold. I would pay you anything right now for like a double layer glove. And they're really pretty. They're like typical Peruvian designs, colours. It's really colourful, you know. And yeah, lots of llamas as well. They're really cute. If you pay them, like maybe you can get a photo with them as well. With Machu Picchu reservations, we also booked a trip to Sacred Valley. And actually, if you book Salcantay with Machu Picchu reservations, then they'll give you a discount on the other tours. They'll say you're like a Salcantay survivor, which is funny. So we got 20% off, I think, our Sacred Valley trip, and in that we went to the salt mines, which was good. It was fun. To be honest with you, I felt like that whole Sacred Valley tour was a bit rushed, and it was like we were kind of trying to squeeze everything into one. But I mean, I'm still glad that I got to see all the other stuff as well, not just Machu Picchu. By the way, Machu Picchu was great. They've just changed the circuits recently, but I did circuit 3 and I enjoyed it. Let me tell you a little story about a time when I went to Lake Titicaca in Peru. We're talking mountains, we're talking getting dressed up in the locals' clothes, we're talking eating 12 types of potatoes. It was fun. I really enjoyed it. We did a lot of just like driving on the boat from different islands, but it's a really memorable trip, especially staying at the locals' houses, and then they like made us lunch, they made us dinner, and then they insisted we like wear their traditional clothes, and we all went down to this like community hall, all of like these tourists dressed up. It was terrible actually, but like it was just like really funny. I didn't really know if it was like appropriate to be doing that, but they wanted us to, so we're like fine, didn't want to offend them. Maybe if you're lucky I'll include some photos of that. I'll be warned, I look really funny, but you know, it's all fun and games. When I got to La Paz, I really enjoyed Bolivia, because I think the reason why I enjoyed it so much is because I had no expectations. I didn't do any research. Side note, my recommendation for South America, my motto would be have 0 expectations but plan it, which is what I didn't do. I didn't plan anything, which I should have. I didn't expect anything, but that was fine because I always expect nothing. I don't have any expectations because then you can't really get to. When I got there, I met some people at the hostel. I met this guy and he was telling me, he'd been there for like 2 weeks, he felt like a local, was telling me all the good places to go. Told me about Mount Juana Potosi, which I did, which I enjoyed. He also told me about Death Road. He gave me all this information, it was really overwhelming. So I ended up just going out to the markets with some other people that I met. When I was in the markets, I was talking to these boys and they were like, oh, come to Death Road with me tomorrow. I was like, sounds a bit dodge. Death Road, the most dangerous road in the world. But like, no, it's good. And I had read about it online. It's like a route that you cycle through, like mountain biking. It was really fun. So I ended up going on that trip and I really enjoyed it. Yeah, we got along. I got along with the people that I went cycling with. And then on the way back, he says to me, I'm going hiking a mountain tomorrow, you should come. I'm like, not sure how I feel about this, but you know me, I'm always up for a challenge. So I decided, okay, how bad can it be? If you go onto my Instagram stories, then you can see my highlights from Mount Juana Potosi. This is the moment I thought, what have I got myself into? Unfortunately, I didn't make a vlog just because it was such a difficult climb. I had to put all my energy into the climb. I didn't have any room or energy to vlog, unfortunately, but yeah, you can see my Instagram highlights on there. Maybe next time I need my own camera crew, you know? I need my own cameraman and someone there. Maybe Sky TV want to sponsor me. I'd be more than happy. ITV, BBC, get in touch. please. I'd love that. Discovery Channel, if you're listening to this, then please sponsor me for some adventures, some trips. I'll make some great content for you. All my social groups for Bolivia stemmed out of Wild Rover Hostel. Now, this is not an ad. I'm literally just saying to stay at Wild Rover because I really enjoyed it. It was fun. It's a little bit hectic. There's a bar inside the hostel that like the locals go to as well. So take what you will from that. But it's good. They have a hairdryer room. They've got like a makeup room. They've got a free pool table. I really recommend it. It was good. Also, another side note, Bolivia is, I think, one of the top 5 countries in the world for like poor food hygiene. So just be really careful where you eat. I was fine apart from when I went to Amazon. Something happened. It might have been when I brushed my teeth with like the Amazon tap water. Don't recommend, but yeah, just be very vigilant whilst you're there. So I booked another tour. I don't normally like tours, but I feel like with South America, like they're good. I did Pampas for 3 days and 1 day in Amazon. That was enough. We saw a lot of crocodiles. We're on this boat on the river for like 4 hours. Anaconda hunting, that was a little bit crazy. It's like 5 hours following our guide. He was like hacking away at the grass. He was like, come on, follow me. And then he would be like, right, wait here for a minute. And we'd be like, okay, just like hanging around. And then he'd come back 15 minutes later like, come on guys, it's this way. I want to go back now. I've run out of water, I'm hungry. I just want to sit down. Crazy, hectic. 10 out of 10, recommend. Even with the food poisoning, it was so worth it. It was fun. Choti mining tour. I already covered that before, but I'll just tell you quickly. We went on a Sunday. Sundays is when all the miners go home. Like, it's like their rest day. So when we went into the mines, no one was there. Actually, there was one miner there, and it was actually kind of creepy. He was the owner of the mine. He couldn't really afford to have time off, bless him. Like, we felt really sad, but not gonna lie, we were just down there with our guide. It was me and my friend Charlotte. We were traveling, we were down there, and then it's like pitch black, like 40 meters underground or whatever, and I hear these footsteps, and no joke, I thought it was a ghost. My heart froze. My heart was like, I froze, my heart dropped. I was like turning around like, whose are those footsteps? And I see him and he's just like, miner. And yeah, for a minute, I genuinely thought I saw a ghost. I was terrified. And then our guide started chatting to him. I was like, okay, it's not just me who can see him, it's fine. You must go to Salt Flats in uni. They are incredible. Honestly, a landscape like I've never seen before. I do have another video. 4-day road trip through the desert. So it started off in uni in Bolivia, and then we would like stay in hotels and each day make our way through to Chile. Loved that. Take lots of layers with you, it's cold. I was sleeping in like my sleeping bag, and I had like a jumper on, I had my gloves on, I had like 3 at least t-shirts on, I had socks, I had my leggings on, and I had another pair of trousers, like, and 3 blankets. Like, that's how cold it was. You're gonna have fun. It's incredible. And actually I saw the best sunset in my life while I was there in Salvador, Bolivia. Gotta do it. Right, that pretty much takes me to the end of my trip. I did have a few days in the north of Chile before I flew back to England. In the Atacama Desert, I went stargazing, which I loved, especially as at the time I was studying longitude, and yeah, like that's to do with like stars. Well, it's not really, but I was learning about the stars as well. And I also hired a bike for $6 and rode out to Devil's Throat, which was free, well, apart from like the park entry, but it was free. And considering Chile is one of the most expensive countries in South America, I would recommend go to a supermarket, go to La Tienda, get some snacks, some good snackage, get a Powerade because you're gonna need it, get some water, get some crisps, you know, like all the good stuff. Get a tin of tuna if you're feeling a bit like me and like eating tuna out the tin. If anyone likes doing that, then please let me know, because I think I'm the only person I know who likes tuna. Then I did a 23-hour bus journey from Atacama to Santiago, and that was my trip complete. 3 months in South America, and I loved every minute of it. Top countries, Bolivia and Peru. Yes, that was me. take what you will from this video, recommendation wise. Do not blame me if anything goes wrong. Be vigilant, be careful. Yeah, learn a bit of Spanish. I hope everything goes well for you. Actually, I put in my phone notes like Spanish words that I've learned, and if you want, send me a DM and I will send you all the Spanish that I learned. It's like all the basics. I hope you found value in this video. If not, then apologies, but I'm sure there would be something in here that you've learned. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I really hope you found some value and can learn from my trip, what to do, what not to do, a good route to take, etc, etc. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.